Want to do the first repeat or no? Just straight through first repeat? Yeah.
As we do periodically, in this congregation, we're going to begin our service with the extinguishing of a candle. We found out this week that on June 28th, at the age of 86, the Reverend Stan Robert Stefancic, who led this congregation from 1980 to 1985, passed away. Our prayers are with his wife, Marianne, his son, Benjamin, and the whole family. May the beauty and gifts of his life carry on, the legacy be all that he loved and strengthened by the efforts of his days.
Good morning and welcome to everyone with us here in the sanctuary and online. I am Laura Shenham, Minister of Congregational Life, and I'm joined on the chancel by my partner in ministry, Reverend Vanessa Rush Southern. Appreciation to our organist, Reiko Lane, and songwriter, Andrew Kessler, this morning. Welcome and appreciation to our guest musicians, Kathy Marshall and Alan Biggs, who have provided so many beautiful musical things already. Gratitude to our tech team in the back, led by Grace Bradley from Desired Effects, while Jonathan Silk takes a much-needed vacation. Gratitude to Eric Shackelford and Shuli Ong, who are our camera crew, and our sextons, Francisco Castellanos and Jose Matias Pineda. Thank you to our ushers, who are led by Linda Mesner, and our beautiful flowers provided by Carrie Steer Salazar today. And finally, a shout out to thanks to the staff who take care of our little ones on Sunday, while their parents or guardians get to sit here in the sanctuary and soak up the much needed spiritual sustenance that they need. Our childcare staff today is Alicia Coover, Bernasia Cates, Vivian Young, and Connor Shinham. It truly takes a small village for us to just come together on a Sunday morning, and we're so appreciative of all those that make that happen. We hope all of you here or on live stream have an order of service so you can follow along in our worship today. A quick COVID note, masks are no longer required, but you're strongly encouraged to wear one or do whatever you need to feel safe and comfortable. To my left is a section against the wall, marked and reserved for those who want to be in a mask-only section. Always, 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 if you are feeling unwell, then please stay home and enjoy our services online. Our offering this morning is for the Presida Eyes Muralist Association that was founded in 1977 by Susan Cervantes and Luis Cervantes with other artists in the San Francisco's Mission District. This inner-city, nonprofit, community-based mural arts organization has played an integral role in the city's cultural and heritage and arts education. We just finished up the first of two sermon series that Vanessa and I are offering this summer. The first was a reimagining of God through different theologies. We now start the second series that will look at spiritual practices, those ways of restoring and grounding our spirits, souls, and beings. This morning, Reverend Southern will share the practice of Visio Divina. Once again, welcome, and let us worship together. Now is the time in our service to light our symbol of faith, our chalice. For those who are online, please light a chalice of your own if you have one nearby. I invite you to say the words printed in our order of service. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together. Please rise and body your spirit for our opening hymn, number 77 in our gray hymnal, Seek Not Afar for Beauty.
I'm Julia Wald. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. Welcome. I'm glad you're all here. Some are here physically, some on live stream. It's wonderful. I hope you'll keep coming back. Is there an echo? No? So one of the things I like doing here is fundraising. I know that's not everybody's favorite, but it makes me very happy. I particularly like working on the auction and the holiday fair. And the auction is coming up, not so far away, October 20th. You could be marking your calendar right now, yes. And if you have any questions about these things, see me afterwards. I might rope you into work, but then you could be happy too, so it's good. I also invite you to come to the board meetings. The Board of Trustees meets the third Tuesday of every month, 6:30. We like to have members and guests of the congregation come and tell us what's on their mind. You can come on Zoom. You can come in person. An upside if you come in person is there are snacks. So, yeah, come. Maybe you're here for the first time, and I want to give you a special welcome if you are. Encourage you to keep coming. The more you come, the better it gets. And we have a yellow card. You'll find it in the rack in the pew in front of you. You fill it out. We'll send you the newsletter. It's called The Flame. A lot of people in this room get The Flame. I want to encourage you to read it. Yeah, it tells you what's going on, and if you're new, then you'll know what's going on, so that's good. If you aren't here in the sanctuary, but you're online, there's a link in the, in the order of service and on the video description of today's service. Fill it out. We can't send you the flame, of course, unless we know your name and your email address, or at least your email address. The order of service today tells you some of the things that are going on, and they're really fun today. Emma Wakeling is going to come and tell you about her meeting for newcomers. And, you know, maybe you've been coming a few times or you're brand new here, but she will invite you to today's meeting, which is at 12:30 in the fireside room. If you come before 12:30, that's good too.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Emma. I'm a membership and young adult manager here at UUSF. I'd just like to invite anybody who is new here to UUSF today to come to our newcomer orientation after service at 12:30 in the fireside room. And it's just a nice place to learn a little bit more about UUSF or Unitarian Universalism. You can meet some of our members, including Julia and Gino, who'll be running the meeting. And you can ask any questions that you might have about Unitarian Universalism or about our community. So I'd love for you to join us. I'll be in the gallery afterwards to help you find out where it is, because it's a little hidden, but there's plenty of folks who will help you find the way if you need. Just one other small announcement. Any members of UUSF who have recently changed their mailing address, if you could please fill out the demographic survey, which you can find in the order of service. That means that you'll get your copy of UU magazine. So please fill that out by end of day tomorrow so you can get your magazine copy. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Emma. Another thing that's happening after church today at 12:45 in the chapel is our affiliated community minister, Shonan Fang, is going to give a session about the contemplarium. I, for one, can't wait to go, but he'll tell you a little about it.
Good morning, I'm Shannon. I'm the affiliated community minister, or a affiliated community minister here at UUSF. In the chapel, after service at 12:45, there's an information session about the San Francisco Contemplarium, which is building secular sacred spaces across San Francisco dedicated to honoring our human journey through programming and physical stuff. So what kind of physical stuff? What kind of programming? What do I mean by honoring our human journey? Why is it called the Contemplarium? Well, join me after service at 12:45 in the chapel to find out. Thanks.
Thank you, Reverend Fong. And now it's time to greet your, no? Okay, it's not time to do anything but sit here and continue to enjoy the service.
We like to keep everybody on their toes. What we are going to do right now is bless and dedicate a baby. We have a little background. It's always a joyful moment. We have a little background. Of course, what you all know is that from the earliest days of recorded history, parents have brought their children in moments like this and spaces like this to share their wider joy and dedication with the community that they gather around them in this journey of parenting. We come feeling enormous blessings in moments like this and the obligations of welcoming a new life into the world and into our lives and stewarding the promise of their life. But we want to give you a little bit of background on this particular story. On April 22nd, Yumi Lawler was flying to San Francisco on her business trip, her express last business trip, she said, before taking it, though she didn't know how true that would be, before giving birth. She was very pregnant, and on the trip she started to feel concerned. The only doctor on the plane, an ophthalmologist, told her it was sciatica. Yumi trusted her instincts and asked that an ambulance meet them on the tarmac. And just after 1 a.m. on April 23rd, JJ was born, 7.5 weeks early. He weighed 2 pounds and 5 ounces. JJ's father, Daniel, a UU minister, flew in from the east to join Yumi. A friend helped find them an apartment, or Yumi's company did. For 66 days, they visited JJ in the hospital just kitty corner from the church in the NICU. And in a couple of weeks, he will head home to a new apartment they just closed on and moved their stuff into last week. It's been a busy few months. We feel blessed, Daniel and Yumi, to have you both here and to have been invited into this moment with you, into this rite for JJ. You both have some connection historically to San Francisco, and still it's a bit of an accident that we're all here together. But accidents have silver linings. JJ clearly was determined to be a Californian. And we will always claim him, especially after today, as part of this California family. In Korea, when a child reaches their 100th day in this world, there's a big celebration. Perhaps it's because historically, through time, for a child to survive 100 days was a sign that they might be with us forever. Life was precarious for babies. Today is JJ's 100th day. And since he spent, yay. And since he spent the first 66 days in the hospital, of course, it's a particularly joyous and blessed occasion. He now weighs 10 pounds, 6 ounces. And about ready to head home, cleared by the doctors soon, we hope. We are grateful and want to name that we're grateful for those who cared for him, especially the hospital staff across the street in the NICU, to send our blessings and love to all of them and to the families that are there now. May their children grow up strong and be celebrated in moments like this too. So we gather for this dedication. Why don't the two of you and JJ come join us up front? If you need to sit down, you can too. Okay. Yeah, now no one listens to anything you say.
In our tradition, we believe each child is one more Savior born into this world, and for this we are grateful and humbled. Yet eager as they may be to enter this world, some more than others, children come into the world naked of body, mind, and spirit, naked of knowing, dependent, and helpless. Parents have the awesome privilege to be the guides, companions, cheerleaders to these lives as they unfold. From you, your child will learn love, laughter, and speech. From your actions, your child will imitate movement and goodness and wisdom, courage and openness. Yumi and Daniel, I know Daniel, being a minister, would like JJ to grow up wise. Yumi is a fan of the Faithful Fools, so she sees the many faces wisdom can take as it blesses the world and wants all of them to open to him. You both agree that your biggest wish for JJ is that he grow up happy and strong. You hope he can resist all the falsehoods of the world chose, for instance, as a man to inhabit in a way what is kind and true to his own sense of himself. As we hope the lesson of advocating for his own and others' well-being, as Yumi did for both of theirs the day he was born, is something that he carries forward. In presenting your child at this service, you affirm your commitment to his life in that unfolding. So, I ask you, in this sacred calling we call parenthood, do you promise to the best of your ability, by your example, to care for your son so that he may grow and develop with confidence and security, be guided by your wisdom and encouraged by you to trust his own, be true to his own passions and values, finding what endures, like the deep peace of a life of integrity and service, like always being grounded in loving, connected relationships, like so much he will learn first to know and cherish from you? Do you promise to show your son all that you know of a life that endures with joy and meaning? It is not possible in this complex world for any parent to raise a child alone, and all children need to know they are caught in the web of love that will hold them firm and give them the examples of a landscape of lives and life choices they can make as they form their own vision of good, rich, and meaningful life. JJ is blessed with layers of community to support him. Let us recognize them both here in the sanctuary and watching online at this moment. I'll ask you, who are part of these layers of his support, to stand or type in the chat as I say your names and remain standing. JJ is blessed with a large, loving, extended family here in California, in Korea, and in Rhode Island. Will JJ's grandparents stand here in the sanctuary and watching at home? His grandmother, Halamani, Kyung Young, who is with us here. And joining on live stream are Nana Cynthia and great Nani Cora. JJ is blessed with aunties and uncles, Nia and David, and with Emo Nina and Sophia and her husband, Brian. And in the sanctuary, we welcome JJ's Samchon, or uncle, Yumi's brother, Kevin. And all other family near and far who are here and watching, you, the grandparents and great-grandparents, great aunts and uncles, maybe older cousins, and all the family of JJ, you particularly, his elders, will connect him back through his generations to those whose legacy he is now called to carry forward. The beauty and the power of legacy is why our names often bear connection to those who have gone before us in our families, as JJ's does. Will any of Yumi and Daniel's friends joining us today, will you rise? You are also part of the wider circle of chosen family. You too will supplement the care and formation of this child and support his parents as you have in these last months. So we ask all of you, the family given and chosen near and far, To pledge support to this child in the ordinary days of living with heart and with extraordinary needs of times should those arise. Are you willing to provide that support? If so, please say, "We do." To the congregation into whose care we commit this child and his family, please rise and answer the question I pose with "We will." In the words borrowed from the late Reverend Rob Eller Isaacs, "It is our faith that each child born is one more servant of love and justice, one more wise voice waiting to speak their truth to the needs of their days. By this service of dedication, we commit ourselves to the nurture of this child. We will strive to love and cherish him in times of struggle as well as gladness. Acknowledging the divine spark within each child, will you be worthy guardians of his young life, building a community in which he will grow old, surrounded by beauty, embraced by love, and cradled in the arms of peace?"
We will. You may be seated. Daniel and Yumi, what do you name this child?
Jung Joseph Lawler.
Jung Joseph Lawler. Your name, Jung, speaks of a Korean value of deep attachment to community. It's a name that's present in your mother's name and in your grandmother's name. Jung is a commitment to community carried through your ancestors that held them in times of colonial rule, connected to each other, and therefore resilient. It has held your family through these last months. May it hold you your whole life. And Joseph, your second name, is an ancient biblical name that speaks of one who did what was asked and helped bring transforming life into the world. It's a name that is in your father's name and was passed down as a name on both sides of your father's family, including his beloved Uncle Joe and dear grandfather Joseph Braga. So your name, Jung Joseph, connects you to all these people and their lives of value and courage. May this name recall you to the power, all that you lay claim to in these two lineages. And so the water, this water that we blessed you with today, is from our community's annual ingathering. And each year we add a little of the water from the previous year into the next. It's a reminder of the many streams of our lives that feed into this common life that you are now part of. And so, with the touch of this water and the gift of this flower, the symbol of the unfolding of a beautiful life, we welcome you into the fellowship of all souls, blessing the thoughts of your mind, the words of your mouth. Always not sure he likes this. Yes, it's all good. The deeds of your hands, the movement of your heart, courage, love. We welcome you into this fellowship of all souls. We welcome you into this life that is made beautiful whenever it is in service of truth, of righteousness, and love. Our lives are promised to be with you in this life. May you and all those who love you be forever blessed, and the world be blessed too with your arrival, as it already has been. That I got a smile for, by the way. And in the courageous, beautiful unfolding of your life, blessings into this world you rushed to meet. Amen. May we present Jung Joseph Lawler, and the community show its jubilation in welcoming him. Oh. One of many ovations, we're sure. We are going to now, Julia will be happy, we're now going to greet one another. We are going to play a song that's very important to Yumi and to Daniel, Forever Young, written by Bob Dylan. Beautiful lyrics as we greet one another. However, if we do it online, we have the chance of being shut down for copyright violations. So our home audience, we will share the lyrics with you, but you won't hear the music, but you can find it on your own. And let's greet one another, and let's greet our family, and let's greet all their family and friends, please. I'm going to invite folks to their seats. We will have more time to greet each other at social hour. Oh, yeah, the party has begun. We're going to have to rope them back in. I do want to let you all know while you're getting back to your seats that you have an insert, and on one side it has a menu all about sweet rice cakes and a little bit about the 100th, another of the traditions of the 100 days. So after service, you are invited to partake in some beautiful sweet rice cakes, and it is your obligation to eat at least one, because 100 of us need to eat one to add to the auspiciousness of this day for JJ. And now we have a special rededicated piece of music that Reiko Odelaine asked to play for JJ for today. I'm going to invite you to say with me the words of our unison covenant, some of the words of the promises that we say to each other in this community, make to each other. Please join me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. Please rise for our doxology. We are going to let you pray on your own this afternoon and enjoy some more music. I want to invite you all into a time of practice. As Reverend Laura said at the beginning, one of the hopes that we have that we can continue to nurture and encourage among us in this community are ways, practices for going deeper in our own lives, in our daily lives. And we can talk more about what that means, and we will a little bit later in the service and the sermon, but let's do one of those practices right now, if you will. One of them, one that is less traditional and less talked about, but I think deeply enjoyable and creative, especially for those of us who have tried some of the more kind of usual suspects, I guess you might say, of spiritual and grounding practices is this practice called Visio Divina. It's about engaging with an image. And often people who do it traditionally have used religious imagery, but that isn't necessary. You can find any image you feel drawn to. You might even reflect on a landscape outside your window or a scene that you come on in your life and sit to be present to. The point is just to take some time with it. You have in your order of service 2 possible images, and of course you can choose anything that you have with you or even something in the room. You might use this piece of a familiar image from Western religious art, from Christian art on the cover. It's from the Sistine Chapel, of course, Michelangelo. But also we have put on the backside of the sweet rice cake menu and description, we have put an image, a photo that I took, and a little space also on this half sheet where you might take some notes. There should be a writing implement for most of you in the pew in front of you, and if you're home, I'm sure you have some handy. So I'd invite you to choose an image, whatever you feel drawn to today. And take a deep breath and get your body comfortable in your seat. Try and shut out any distractions. I invite you to look at the image and let your eyes stay initially with the first thing that you see in it. Keep your attention on that part of the image. For right now, stop your eyes from wandering. Just breathe and let yourself gaze with and be with that part of the image for a moment. Now let your eyes gaze at the whole of the image and take your time. Look at every part of it that you can see that's present to you. And reflect on the whole of it for a minute. And as you do so, just be present to what's coming up for you, inside you, in the space that you're creating. Or what emotions does the image evoke for you or in you? What thoughts does it bring to mind? Or associations, times in your life maybe, or does it raise any questions or yearnings? Or fears? Or anything? And if you were to hold some intention or make some prayer right now, what might that be? You can write it down if you wish to. And in the last bit of silence and reflection, just try and capture anything that you want to carry into the day or the week ahead. A wondering, the glimpse of an insight, maybe just the desire to be present more often. May our deepest insights and yearnings, connection to the world, find ways to make itself known and bless us in the days and weeks ahead. Amen. And now our offering, which in this service celebrating the visual and what it evokes in us, this offering for Presida Eyes muralists, will be taken and gratefully received. Thank you. I love all the baby sounds. A colleague of mine says the sounds of babies is the sound of the future calling out to us. The future is calling us. One thing I hope that we can encourage among us in this community are these practices for going deeper. These practices can be ones that ground us, maybe clarifying what we feel or know, what's going on for us right now. Journaling does that for me. I say sometimes that I don't know what I'm feeling until I journal it. It's as if it takes, I think, sometimes these practices where, for me, writing is one of them, where we open the channels to let ourselves pay attention to parts of our inner lives that otherwise maybe are sitting in the corner a bit irritated that we're ignoring them. And we literally have to make space to ask, how are you? How are you? So these practices can help ground us and clarify how we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're feeling. They can also open us up, right, in ways that allow us to connect sometimes to something that will often rush into that openness. We open, a lot of artists will talk about opening the channels of connection to what can feel like this incredible creative energy, energy of insight, presence of mystery, like what we talked about last week. Some would say that what shows up in those moments when we do these practices is God or spirit, but I suppose I'm like Julia Cameron, the author of The Artist's Way, who doesn't much care what we call it, but what she wants us to do, you and I, is to work on that experience of opening up so that we can be present to and alive to the possibilities that it ushers in. In all of it, all of the talk of spiritual practices, I side firmly with a guru whose ashram I went to years ago in India, who taught a particular form of breathing and physical meditative practice, but who said once in the Dharma talk he gave, "This practice gives me more peace and joy." I know some of you have heard me say this before, but it's worth repeating. But if it doesn't do that for you, then abandon it and find a practice that does do that for you. All of this is about all of that. Our goal, to find practices that ground us, that open us up, that allow a way for us to be more present to and in agreement with, in alignment with what gives us peace and joy. And it's in that spirit that I've tossed this practice out among us this morning, Visio Divina, one of the lesser known and named practices, a practice whose name literally translates as divine seeing, which has its roots in the more ancient practice of Lectio Divina, that practice that calls for slow, careful reading and meditation on a text, traditionally a spiritual or religious text, though it need not be scripture. Often with Lectio Divina, you were supposed to and invited to revisit the same text over time, multiple times, so that it could unfold for you layer by layer, or you in relationship to it, riding it, you might say, like oceans, of a wave of oceans, or peeling back the layers like an onion, asking what the text has to say to you today, and what it has to say to you today, and what it wants you to be held accountable to or called into. Visio Divina is similar. It's the related practice, as you just had a tiny, quick experience of this meditation on or with an image. Traditionally also, those images were religious ones, icons or religious art, but it can be done, as we did today, also with a photograph or reflecting on a piece of a space we're in or a landscape. All of it is just a way for us to throw the windows and doors of our minds and hearts and spirits open and see where that invitation takes us or what comes to meet us in our making of it. Saint Benedict talked about the need to learn to listen with the ears of our hearts. One way to think about it is that these practices are scaffolding that is about helping us to find ways, structured ways, to learn to do just that. And this kind of attentive listening does, for most of us, take some practice. Parker Palmer, the Quaker educator, said that the soul was like a wild animal, and you had to go out into the woods and wait, silent and unmoving, for a long time sometimes before it would risk showing itself. Visio Divina, you might say, is one of the ways we might structure that waiting, with the hope and the expectation, if we do, that soul or something powerful might emerge. You might also say that it's a technique for getting the logical, rational mind to step aside for a moment. Logic and reason, of course, are two of the most incredible gifts we human beings have in our human toolkit. And I think we all know those moments where we have knowledge and insights that have found their way to us, that have somehow passed the traditional ways of logic and reason, where the equation's solution comes to us while we're in the shower, not sitting sketching it out on paper, or the diagnosis that we couldn't quite put our finger on, or the intervention that eluded us throws itself in front of us in the middle of our morning run, while we're listening to heavy metal and trying not to think about work. Where we know in a moment of quiet that we need to spend our life with someone who isn't the logical choice at all for us. And 50 years later, we still know that was the right call. How do we make sure that we invite that mind, those whispered insights, to show up? These practices are about all of that too. Which is to say, there are so many reasons to practice the setting aside of standard ways of thinking, the self-conscious mind, the busyness of our lives, our traditional ways of doing things, and creating scaffolding space for different practices. And spiritual practices are often about finding a way to do all of that. So I thought Visio Divina would be a fun one to throw into your possible rotation of practices, especially for those of you who have tried other things and they haven't quite worked. It's been an incredible practice for me, not one I do a lot, but one that I love being invited into. And recently, in February, I was strangely invited into it. This past February, I was on my friends, family, and national parks themed sabbatical. My husband and I, in the midst of it, made a stop in Santa Fe, where a cousin who's like a sister to me, one I hadn't seen for a couple of years, where she lives. So we went, Rohit and I, to visit cousin Allie, and it's a strange and wonderful thing that she now owns a house and has this beautiful life and a job that's serious, and people take her seriously. I think we both have imposter syndrome about being grown-ups. That rises especially when we're together. Reunions are grand. And Santa Fe is a lovely place for reunions. Have people been to Santa Fe, New Mexico? Yeah, I'm seeing some nodding heads and waved hands. Well, for those of you who haven't been there, Santa Fe is a city in New Mexico that's poised against the Sangre de Cristo foothills. It's filled with tan-colored earth pueblo architecture and drought-resistant plants like juniper and sagebush and prickly pear. It's high desert landscape. I don't think of myself as a desert person. I've always been drawn to much more lush landscapes, like upstate New York, where my cousin Allison lived and I would spend my summers. But there was something deeply appealing about the desert to me this time, the starkness of it. Something I used to find depressing, but felt crave-worthy this time, and delicious and magnetic. One day, while doing the obligatory rounds in Santa Fe, we went to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum. Again, I like Georgia O'Keeffe, but I haven't particularly been drawn to her work over the years. O'Keeffe was a woman who loved and was also captivated by the desert, it turns out. She had come to the desert most immediately in her life from the throes of New York, where I also lived from the age of 8 onward. She loved the art scene there. She met her husband, a gallery owner, Stieglitz in New York. But she started to leave for increasingly long periods of time, eventually buying her now famous studio and home, Ghost Ranch, in Abiquiu, New Mexico. And it made me wonder, reading about her, how we can both love the city and its overwhelming, teeming life and be drawn to the desert, too. And amidst all this wondering and wandering through her work, I came to one of her paintings. It wasn't the flowers that she's famous for. It was a piece that I almost made the insert this morning, but it's too odd, and so I didn't want to force you to reflect on it. It's called Horse Skull with White Roses. And Eric, I don't know if you can zoom in on this, but if I had thought, I would have blown up a much larger version. It's one of the first she did of the horse skulls and cow skulls. And again, I'm someone who loves pre-Raphaelites with their lush colors and vibrant foliage often and backgrounds teeming and overgrown. And I fell in love with this painting, which, as you can see, is a sun-bleached skull of a horse with hollow eye sockets and teeth still in the upper jaw, and this lush wild rose, it looks like, perched on its brow, and all of it braced against a black background. Why was this the painting I was standing in front of? Well, I've been sitting with this painting for months now. I have the postcard on my bulletin board in front of my desk at home, and I've been meditating on it and why I find it compelling. What is it trying to tell me? And asking the questions that I asked you to consider this morning as you looked at the image, whatever image you chose. And I've panned some gold from this river, but I don't think it's done with me, this image. And I think we know when things are done with us, right? But I have some gatherings from the time. I think I love the lush landscapes and teeming life of cities and green fields, but I think I am also in the second half of life what Richard Rohr describes in his book, Falling Upward, which is to say I am beginning to feel the pull away from the frenzy and the world to something that is stark and stripped down and quiet. The way of the sannyasi in India who follow the student stage and then the householder stage and then start to simplify of worldly distractions and go inward. And it's all the pull of death, for sure, that's a piece of it. But it's also this need to get some things straight now. Do what has to be done now. And I like the painting because it isn't empty in its starkness of beauty and life. Like the skull that has the rose on its brow, it's still companioned by beauty and life. O'Keeffe once said the skulls she painted were, quote, as beautiful as anything I know. They are strangely more living than animals walking around. The bones seem to cut sharply to the center of something that is keenly alive. Well, for me, there's a lot left to unpack in all of this and more to understand, but there's this invitation from an image to unpack it. And it's been powerful to sit with it. Who knows, my friends, what we find when we step into the world with eyes tuned to listen with the ears of the heart, if we can combine all of those. Who knows if we would have known the things we come to understand as quickly or as clearly as we do sometimes, going at it differently than we normally do. Perhaps things in our life, some wisdom and insights and callings need a side door because so much is pouring in through the front door. So there is this challenge, this invitation for us, whether we want to call it a religious or spiritual practice or not, to open the channels for something to flow in that needs to find another way to speak to us. To sit in quiet, in wild places, to look long enough to let something reveal itself, to unlock a door we didn't know was locked and pay attention to what's waited to reveal itself and make its offerings. And our job is just to practice a rotation and put in some scaffolding, right? To allow for these ways of knowing, creative power, mystery, all of it to flow into our lives. And as the Guru promises, and I think he's right, to find the one that bears the fruits of greater peace and joy for us in our lives. So my prayer is that we each find the ways to open ourselves to our deeper and deepest selves, unlock the sluice gates, if you will, to the world's great creative flow, pan for gold in what runs through us in the silence, listen for what the ears of the heart have to speak to us, whether it's through image or words or music, prayer or journaling, the 100 ways we can bend down to sip from the rivers of life. And may we find there what we need and live into it with heart. Amen. Let us sing, my beloveds, let's sing our closing hymn, Blessed Spirit of My Life, hymn number 86 in your gray hymnal. you to remain standing, but put down your hymnals and join hands with the person near you. If you don't want to join hands, if you have a cold or for whatever reason, just cross your hands across your chest and the person will know. Let's make ourselves into one big interconnected web. And now, in our comings and our goings, may the light of love shine upon us. Out from within us, be gracious unto us and grant us new life and grant us peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.